Glessing, and I'm your host. I am so blessed today to have with me Heather Smith. Welcome, Heather.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I know. Tell me again where I'm calling you for. Where are you in the world?
I am in Northern California.
Oh, nice. And I understand it's a new house.
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so excited. My first house. The first house that
Wow,
I
I
ever bought,
love
my
it.
husband and I, and it's just beautiful. Out in nature and peace and quiet and lots of space and just magical, wonderful.
Oh, I love that. I am so excited for you. I am going to introduce Heather now. She works with a variety of different energy modalities. She has more than 21 years doing this transformation energy. She is one of the truliest, happiest people I know. So she could be on the Happiness Telesummit if all she did was wake up and be Heather. You won! Yay!
Yeah.
When Heather teaches classes, she's so light and energetic and beautiful. You just transform. So what she says is by developing our capacities for being aware of energy and utilizing our natural ability to change our energies, there's no limit to what can be healed and created in our bodies and our lives. And she actually created healing from asthma herself. She is an access consciousness facilitator for over 9 years now. She has used the tools and teaches the tools, and I just could not be more blessed to have Heather here on Happiness Telesummit. And just what could be better than this, Heather?
Good question.
What are some other questions we can ask today as we get started?
Yeah. Yeah, well, really that's one of the key things to all happiness is questions, you know? And so any question that's truly from the curiosity just opens so many doors. It's like all possibilities are accessed by questions. So it's really, that is one of the magical tools for me in my life for having happiness and for the ability to choose more happiness. Like, where do I go? What do I do? And really, what do I be? That would allow me to have the happiness that's available, because it's everywhere. There's possibilities for it really in every situation. And I don't just mean like, laughter and ha ha ha. Happiness also is a sense of peacefulness and like contentment and like you're okay just being you. So there's also a space of calmness that is happiness. It's not just about manic or hysterical laughter, although that's definitely included.
Right. I want to just take you into this thing because not all of our listeners do access consciousness, and I want to have you just right there in the beginning. It was actually an exceptionally advanced concept between being in the conclusion or being in the question. And I feel like you could share, and I'll just share with some people some conclusions. I'll be happy when, my books get bestseller. I'll be happy when I have this. I'll be happy when I'm doing that. And we talk a lot about that on Happiness Telesummit. And one of the things that I've seen with my friends in Access is this shift into kind of it feels so strange because it kind of feels like you're not being the expert. So maybe just share with me what that means. Just give us a little bit more yummy stuff on that.
Okay, so we are taught from a very early age to come to conclusion and to seek out the right answer, and also that there is a right answer for everything, for a happy relationship, for happiness with your job, for having money. Every area of our life, we're taught that it's something, if you find the right answer, that will be the thing that gives you the happiness that you're seeking. But how often does it ever work? I mean,
right.
Look at your own life. Like, did the answers that you found actually give you you that happiness.
Mm.
You know, a lot of times it may give you happiness for a little bit, but it might be fleeting, or just something that doesn't last. Or if the circumstances change or the person changes, suddenly that happiness goes away. So I've found that if you're functioning from conclusion, then nothing that doesn't match that conclusion can come into your awareness. So
Oh.
if you decide that I have to marry this one person and that will give me happiness, there's no, it literally like closes doors and cuts off your awareness to everything that can contribute to you being happy, which may or may not include that person. You know,
Isn't that
it may
fascinating?
not. Sorry, what?
That's fascinating, really, because we
Yeah.
do get in that we get in that place where we get on a mission, you know, where we want to achieve something or we want to have something come to fruition. And I really don't think having things show up and having them come to fruition is wrong. But where we sit there and decide, I think it's in that deciding it has to look like this, right?
Yeah. So I'd love to speak to that. So that would be conclusion, is that it has to show up in a certain package or at a certain time or in a certain way, or it has to look a certain way. But what if the thing that you're really asking for isn't possible inside those parameters and conclusions that you set? So that's part of the difficulty with conclusions, is that if, like, the universe is an abundant place and it would like to give you what you're asking for, but if you have all of these conclusions and parameters that don't allow it to come in, like that's it's just a structure for failure, basically. It's a structure to keep in place unhappiness.
Tell me the house story, because I think when you first started looking for a house, I think, you know, I happen to have hung out with Heather and I've taken some of her classes. I'm so blessed. And I've heard this house story. So tell me a little bit about, you wanted one house, you could afford this, and then what actually happened and what was what actually showed up that you're now kind of in this space of, I'm writing at my new house?
Yeah, well, it's actually an awesome example of all of this that we're talking about. So my husband and I have been looking for a house for like 5 years. And we were working really hard, saving all the money that we could, and we literally, like, every weekend or any time that we could, we'd go and search for a house. And we explored different areas, and we just went all over the place looking for what we would like. And finally, it was about 1.5 years ago, something like that, we spotted this property, and it was everything that we were looking for. It had all the qualities that we had been asking for and searching for, because we were pretty clear on what we wanted. Like, there were certain things we were looking for, and that's, we were going for that and just searching everywhere for it. Universe, show us where to go. Excuse me. So searching, we came across this property. We put in an offer to buy it, and everything looked like it was going good and fantastic. And then literally on the last day before closing, the whole deal totally fell apart, and we did not get the house. So we're like, no. It was rather devastating.
Yeah.
After searching for so many years and having all the qualities that we would like. As you mentioned at the beginning, I've been playing with the Access Consciousness tools for 9 years. And so one of the things that Access talks about is not coming to conclusion, but staying in the question. So even though this was everything I desired and it looked like that it was truly not possible for me to have it, I stayed in the question, well, what would it take for us to be able to buy this property? What would
it require me?
Yeah, what else is possible besides how it's currently showing up? So if I had gone to conclusion in that moment that the house deal fell through, nothing else would have been possible. We would have stopped looking at it. We would have stopped asking questions. We wouldn't have asked our realtor anything. You know,
right.
It would have closed the door on it, and we would have ended up getting something else. So what happened, though, is that I stayed in the question, and I energetically expanded myself and allowed for the possibility of buying the house, even though I didn't know how, even though it didn't look like it was possible, and I had no idea what it would take for it to come to fruition. So that's being in the question, where you don't have the answer, but you know and you trust that the universe has your back, and somehow, some way, there are possibilities for what you have asked for to come into your life.
Nice.
And that's being the question, and that's not coming to a conclusion about what it would take or that it's not possible. You know, that's really one of the biggest conclusions and killers that we come to, is the point of view that something is not possible. That just really isn't true. It's just that we've decided that's how it is. And so
then what happened? I'm dying to know. It's a cliffhanger. It's a cliffhanger.
Yeah. What ended up happening is
what happened?
Yeah, I'll tell the story. So the realtor that we were friends with, we've known him forever, and so the property ended up being in a total mess, foreclosure nightmare. The government seized it basically, and they wanted to, there was taxes owed on it, and it was just a total mess. Our realtor had a friend who is an investor, and he buys hundreds of houses a year and fixes them and flips them. So he has, endless money to play with, and he could buy the whole entire thing in cash, which got it out of the foreclosure and all the mess. And then we bought it from the investor. And
nice.
Yeah.
That's really
so
clean.
when we bought
a clean title.
Clean, easy, effortless, a great price.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
What could be better than that, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was just amazing. Nice. And that was the thing of being in the question of what would it take for this. And part of that is the ease of it. It's like that magic of letting the universe contribute to you, and letting the questions that you ask for contribute to you by opening the energy and opening the possibilities. It made it just effortless and easy, instead of the really difficult nightmare it was to begin with.
That's amazing. I love that story. One of the things, Heather, that I'd like you to share with us, and I feel like I could just have this Google Hangout go on for months. I'll just keep getting more questions and keep asking them, and then you can keep answering them, and we'll just keep having fun.
Yes.
So one of the things that sticks me, I know I'm the only person in the world with this problem too, is just I call it sort of judgment, self-loathing.
Yeah.
Judgment about my body, judgment when I walk into a room, fear that I don't fit in. Well, and I really don't fit in. So it's not like some weird fear. It's like I actually am quite different than many people. And how do I shift into happiness in that space of judgment, and what are some tools or things that you've seen work for people? Again, I'm really reaching out as well to all of my Happiness Telesummit listeners who really embody that spark, that life, that happiness, that joy. And what tools do we have for kind of moving out of the judgment?
Yeah, well, I had the same thing for many, many, many years of always, the first thing I could do is see what's wrong with me. That was really easy. So I'm very familiar with going down that road of, judging myself for what I'm not, or what I think I lack, or things I think I should do that I'm not, or can't do, or whatever it is. It seems really easy to come up with ways to judge ourselves, right? So again, it's something that we've learned and is expected. Part of how people get it right is to come to the correct judgment. Um, but what if that isn't true? And what if that just isn't required?
Oh, nice.
It really, it's recognizing that you're the one who's with you every day. You're the only one who's there all the time and knows everything about you and everything that you're seeking or would like to change or have going on. So what would it be like to be a gift to yourself in your own life and simply choose to drop the judgments and not go there? It's something we actually choose to do. And it can seem so automatic and so fast and so real that we often don't get that it's something that we're choosing. But it really is. So I would invite everyone watching and listening to this to just play with it, and play with literally when they find themselves judging themselves, to just stop. And even just for a few seconds and hang out with stopping going down that trail. Just stop the conversation, stop the thoughts, just stop for a moment.
Wow.
And pause and ask yourself, what would I really like to choose right now? And that simple question is recognizing both that you have choice and also exercising the use of that choice for creating something different. To choose to stop is different than what you're normally doing of going down that rabbit trail of the litany of judgments. So it's like interrupting that pattern and interrupting that habit that we've developed by choosing it over and over and over again. And it does take practice, but one of the things with Access is that your choice is your most powerful tool. And choice, trumps any kind of process or modality or clearing or anything. It's your choices that are creating everything moment by moment. So making that choice and practicing making that choice, and not judging yourself for when you don't also is really what I did for myself. And it was a process. It took a while because I was really good at judging myself very quickly, very harshly. Right? So it's like, would you be willing to have the kindness for you that you maybe didn't get from other people? And that, again, is a choice. It's something you can choose. It is something that's available. Just because you chose to judge yourself a minute ago doesn't mean you have to choose it again right in this moment. And even in the next moment, if you choose to judge yourself again, what if that's not a judgeable offense? What if that's just another choice that you made, and then you have another 10 seconds and you can choose again? So the 10 seconds of choice is a tool from Access Consciousness. And this is that practice of, okay, you have 10 seconds to live the rest of your life. Now what do you choose? Okay, that minute's up. That second's up. Now what do you choose? Okay, that second's up. Now what do you choose? Nice. And that doesn't stop. It's like, what if every moment is a new choice? Nice. So that's a really powerful tool that I've used over and over and over again until it got to the place where judgment of me is really too much work. It's too hard to bother doing that. Yeah. So, yeah. It is possible to change, but it takes your gumption, your willingness, and your effort to make those new choices for you, just because you can. Not based on any reason for it. Because, do you have a reason why you judge yourself, or do you just do it? And even if you do think you have reasons for the rightness of judging you, what if you just drop that too? What if you just let that go and choose again? And so, it's really another magical aspect of choice is that it doesn't ever stop. It's like there's never a moment that doesn't have choice in it. And even the choice to have, or even when it looks like there is no choice, that's just a choice too, to choose to be functioning as though it's really true that you have no other choice. And that's where the question comes in. It's, simply asking, what other choices do I have here? Is that shift in the way that you function, from the conclusion that you have no choice into opening up the possibilities of what choices you actually have available to you.
I used that this morning.
Yeah. Do tell.
Yeah, because I parent, and I was a great parent, by the way, until I had children. I had so much good advice, and when I had my own children, it was like, oh my gosh, rock my world. I am not perfect. Yeah. And so one of them came up with something this morning, and they were in a kind of a terrible mood, and there's hormones flying, and so instead of like normally I would just feel so annoyed by this person, I shifted and I was like, okay, what could be better than this? Because that's always a good question. And then what consciousness can I be to bring light into this environment? And when I ask what consciousness can I be to bring light into this environment, it's such a different question.
Yeah.
It's like such a different energy, because it's not only not judging me for being a terrible parent that my kids would behave in certain ways, right?
Yeah.
But then there was also like this thing of what could be different, or how could I react or respond differently in this environment. And it does feel, when you get in the heat of emotion, or the pain or the struggle or the challenges, when things aren't working, when you're completely stuck. And we'll talk a little bit about money, because Heather's gifted in helping people with money. When you're stuck in a situation, it feels to me like you can often get smaller and smaller and smaller, and feel smaller and smaller and smaller. So you feel you shut down so hard, because you're like, okay, I'm going to get a job doing this to pay for that. This is so bad. I'm going to scream at my child not to, be so angry at me. And that's really going to help too, by the way, if I scream at her
right.
for being angry at me. Well. Yeah, that's going to really bring light into that drama, right? I'm just sharing with the other parents out there. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
When we're looking at things, I feel like, oh yeah, this is good, choice is good, and especially with something like happiness that it can feel kind of frivolous in some ways. So what about when you're sort of backs to the wall, and you're in a challenging environment, and you feel yourself getting small? What are some things we can do in that situation? And then right after this, I'm going to give Heather a chance to talk about her beautiful class that I was fortunate to take earlier this year. So go ahead, Heather, and maybe just share with us when we're feeling just so frustrated and small.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an excellent question. And really, it's one of the aspects that judgment creates and conclusion creates, is that shrinking down and contracting, and that feeling of stuckness. That is what those energies create. So again, I'm really familiar with all of that. I grew up in a household where my dad was an alcoholic, who still is an alcoholic, and he had a lot of anger. And so every day was a lot of yelling and very triggering interactions, where everyone would be triggering everyone into that, more of that contraction. And I was actually in my early 20s when I first made a shift with that. And I was, basically every day my dad would come home, and he'd come home angry for one thing or another, and vent on everyone. Or even just like go outside and yell at the hillside. It's like he just would be yelling all the time, and we never really knew why. Like as a kid or as a younger person, because I was there on the receiving end, it seemed like it was about me, even though supposedly it wasn't. It's like I couldn't differentiate because he was
Mm-hmm.
directing it at all of us.
Right.
Although most of the time he'd been gone all day and we didn't do anything wrong or bad or anything. We'd never been misbehaving. So it was really a strange thing to, have someone who's constantly delivering that much intensity and judgment and anger. And yeah, we naturally want to shield ourselves and try and shrink away. And we think that if we can shrink ourselves small enough that somehow they'll stop or they'll miss us, with what they're throwing at us energetically.
Right.
It seems like it will work, but you notice it never does, right? The person keeps going on and on for hours, or the upset continues with your kid. So one day, I was just in a good mood for no particular reason, and I was really just relaxed and present and feeling good. And so when my dad came home with his usual litany of anger, I didn't put any barriers up to it, and I just didn't have a point of view about it. Like, okay, he's angry. Okay, that's how he usually is. Nothing new.
Yeah.
Because I know for years and years I'd tried so many things to change it or undo it that never worked. He still would come home angry, or he still would deliver anger. So I just gave up in that moment. I gave up altering me to fit his reality. I gave up altering me to match his anger or to fight his anger or to try and get away from his anger. And I just let it go. I let go of all the barriers to it, all the need to get away, all the need to make him wrong. And I was just being me and being present. So I chose to drop all the barriers and not contract. And so that was that moment where like choice became really real to me, that everything I was doing before that moment was also a choice. And that was like a really clear example to me of a new choice. And it totally changed everything. Normally where he'd be angry for an hour or 2 hours, he was over it in a few minutes. And I was like, what? I was kind of pissed. I was like, what? It just took me dropping my barriers and having no point of view, and you'd get over your anger. So easy. How come nobody told me it's this easy to change this?
That's so beautiful. Thank you for that.
Yeah. So lowering your barriers, lowering everything you've been doing to try and be right, like dropping everything you're doing to make the other person wrong, and just be there and be present. And it's like, that in itself is a powerful transformation of your interactions with other people, but also your interaction with yourself. Because it's like that choice to contract and try and protect yourself or make yourself smaller, like, how crappy is it living that way? It's like,
exactly right.
It's not a fun way to be. It's not a fun way to live. And you're the one who has the choice, though, to choose something different if you're willing to. If you're willing to go on that adventure of just trying it out, see what happens, see what you notice.
That's fascinating. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited today to introduce you all to Heather Smith, because there's just something about the way that Heather teaches for me that changed my life in such a beautiful way. And I bring people into Happiness Telesummit. Basically, these are people that I would trust to help me in my own life. And I was fortunate to take a class with Heather on money flows, and I just wanted to have Heather share with you a package she has put together for you, including 3 money flow calls. So tell us a little bit about getting out of debt, how this has worked in your life, what's the carrot, what's the promise? If I do this work, what do I get?
Well, thank you. Yes, I am so excited about this product and what's possible with it. Oh my gosh, where do I even begin? Well, so really, money was always a struggle growing up. We didn't have very much, we didn't have very much money or prospects for how to get more money, and I really wasn't educated about money. Um, so, so this call series is, for me, the education that I gained about creating money, and also a lot of like clearings and tools and things for how to change your money situation, whatever it is. If you have debt, how to get out of debt. Even if you have a great business that is successful and you're already doing well with money, also the tools can work to expand that and increase that. So it's, I don't know, what else would you like to know? So it's such a fun topic for me. I get really excited about it. I'm like wiggling in my chair.
I want you to go back to the beginning. So,
Okay.
This is sort of Money 1A, and it's really funny if you haven't done any access work at all, because I was talking to someone the other day, and he's so proud. He was doing all this stuff with his podcast and his book and everything, and he'd only paid $15 for everything he'd been doing. He'd been working for like 6 months, and he was so proud of himself that he'd only spent $15 on this whole body of work he had done. And I go, what do you hate it so much about money? And he wasn't access, so he was kind of like, I don't hate money. I'm like, oh, it kind of sounds like you hate money. And one of the things that changed for me, listening to some of the teachings, was this feeling of being in a body, the body requiring money. And let's just really jump in there to that very initial place of happiness where we're like, if I'm on a spiritual quest and I'm open to happiness filling my life, why do I have to care about money? Because I think we should just start with that place that people get so stuck in this genre, which, again, if you recall, I teach, happiness, right? Like happiness, like that's my thing. And so then when you talk about money, people are like, oh,
money is spiritual.
We have to talk about that. Like, can we not talk about money? Can we talk about anything except money?
Yeah.
And so can you just bust that for us right now?
Yes. Yes. Well, yeah. So consciousness includes everything. So that means money is included in consciousness. And so God, there's so much like misinformation about what money is and what we've made significant about it or not significant about it. And to me, it's just part of the playground. So let's go to the beginning, like you said, though. So I was raised with the point of view that, you don't really need money. It's definitely not the source of happiness, and pretty much anything that really makes you happy probably doesn't require money or is not included in money. And so it's not really that valuable. And yet at the same time, one of the biggest sources of stress in my parents' life was the lack of money. So we have so many conflictual points of view about money that it's like mind-boggling, right? So so everything that is, would you destroy and uncreate it?
Yes.
To bring a little cool here.
Yes.
So, which is really, would you be willing to destroy and uncreate everything money has been to you up to this point and just wipe the slate clean? And be open to money being different in your life? So so that sense of I don't need money, I studied a lot of different metaphysical modalities and spiritual modalities and all sorts of things, and there was usually an aspect of the teaching that was about transcending your body and transcending material goods and not being part of this earth and on this earth. And for me, it sounded good, but it's like I actually do live on this planet and I do have a body. So what if those two facts were actually a gift and could also be a contribution to who we are as a being and our capacities for consciousness, our capacities for oneness, for all of those what people call higher levels of being. What if our body could be included in that? And really, money is for two things. Money is to take care of our body. It's like we don't eat, our body does. We don't wear clothes, our body does. We don't need a house, our body does. So I think some of the confusion comes from that, where we misidentify and misapply either that we are our body and we need to rise above that, or that we're not our body and therefore we can discard our body. So it's like truths and lies all mixed together. So
right,
what if
right? Because I do feel in that space of the highest heights, those spiritual places, that connectivity with God and with Spirit, then it's true that the body doesn't have the kind of significance that it does when we're not feeling all those things. And yet, if we're mistreating our bodies or hating them or judging them or feeling annoyed by them, then I feel like one of the key learnings I've had with this is to begin to allow that consciousness into my life. So that's a big thanks to you in the work of Access that you've been bringing to people.
Thank you. Yeah, and into your body. It's like, what if your body could be a vessel of consciousness? And what if your body could actually contribute to you as the infinite being you are? And what if your body could just be like your play partner, instead of a detriment, a limitation, or a wrongness? It's like, what if we could just turn that on its head and allow our body to show up for us as the gift it already is?
Nice.
And that's to me part of the value of money, is that I can go to that class that gives me that little piece of information I was missing about not judging me anymore. I can buy healthy food. I can go travel to visit people that expand my life. It's like, what can money do for you and contribute to you if you allowed yourself to have it? And so it's really back to the beginning of the conversation about judgment as well. It's like, what if we judged money to be that it actually isn't? People talk about money being the source of all evil. It's like, is money, like this coin and this piece of paper, really evil? Or is it the things people choose to do with it that's evil?
Nice.
So that's really the person and what they're choosing, not the money. The money is just a currency, an energy, a flow that contributes to what they are seeking to create. So what if that same energy and flow will just as easily and readily contribute to the consciousness of you and the being that you are and what you're seeking to create? And it will, and it does. It's like money doesn't have a point of view.
I love it, and I just want to direct people that right now you can get the package that Heather has put together, which includes 3 amazing calls. They're over an hour, a little bit longer than that, plus an audio clearing loop that will help you. I kind of feel like what this work does with Heather is it gives you awarenesses, and as you're taking the class, there'll be different things that talk to you. And one of my major ahas, I'm just going to share with people because they're in my audience right now. Hi, everyone. Because I can. So I found myself attracted to lack in a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was raised that it was my job to fix everyone's lack. And so it was my job to go to the inner cities, and I worked in philanthropy for over a decade, giving money to inner cities. And I'm not saying that's wrong, but what is it about me needing to attract lack? And that came out in one of your classes. And tell me about that concept, because that was such a beautiful moment for me.
Cool. Yeah. Well, I found how I was raised and the environment I grew up in, that lack was familiar. I was actually very comfortable with not having enough money, with struggling to pay my bills. It was familiar. It was comfortable. I knew how to do that. Like, I had been educated really well.
I got this.
Yeah. I got like a PhD in that. You know?
A PhD, and I can't pay my bills on time. I love that. Yeah. Thank you.
So funny. So yeah. So I realized that though I had been raised that way, and though it was what I was really familiar with, that it was actually, again, a choice to have that as my life and to live that way and to function that way with money. And so that was, again, those choice points where I chose to take a different route and take a different action, which included changing my points of view, changing my beliefs, changing what I was choosing. And I made that demand of myself that I was no longer going to live with that sense of lack as my normal and as my comfortable. And so it started with that demand, and then with that question of, okay, what's it going to take to change this? It started to open that up for the universe to be able to deliver to me different information, different possibilities, and the way to begin creating a different life with money that included money.
Nice.
And wasn't about everything I don't have, because lack isn't just about the money. I mean, so much of it was about, God, I can't do this. It's not possible. It was all the I can't world and what isn't possible that was the true sense of lack that I struggled with. And for me, as the infinite being that I really am, like an infinite being would have lack based on what? So it was a lie that I actually lack in anything. The only thing that I truly was lacking was changing my choices.
Wow.
You know? So there's a richness and a wealth in your capacity to choose, and your capacity to choose something different than you have been, that just creates a whole different life for you if you're willing to go down that path and do that. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Thank you, Heather.
But that's what I like to talk about.
I love it. I'm so joyful. So maybe just give us a little send-off so everyone can get the package that's available here for you right now with us. We put it right here for you to have right now to work with Heather further. But tell us a little bit about kind of what you're cooking up. You can go anywhere you like, and then just give us a little insight into that joy, that sort of like even sweeter. Tell us a little bit about that, like the next level up.
Wow. Well, thank you for asking. Do I have words? Words come to me. Well, so the package is really that invitation to start making new choices and to get some different information that you maybe have never heard of anywhere else. It'll be a very different perspective, and it will include many, many, many tools for you to put to use immediately, starting from the very first call. So if you have any interest in changing how you're functioning with money and how money is or is not showing up in your life, then I invite you to check it out and to purchase this package. And it really, I like to give it all. You know, it's like I don't hold back with any of the tools or any of the information. So it won't be like you have to wait till the next call or the next thing. to have something really useful for your everyday life. So that's what the package is about, and really what I like to be as a facilitator. It's like there's so many possibilities. The universe is so abundant. There's so much available, and to me, recognizing that is really the beginning of allowing ourselves to have everything and anything that we truly desire to have as our life, as how we feel in our skin, and to be every day. It's like I struggled for so long to have a sense of feeling like everything's okay, and then not only that, but going beyond that into just the celebration of being alive, of having a body and enjoying my body and enjoying the things that I have in my life, and to have the joy of knowing that it's my choices that are creating my life. Like, to me, that is so exciting and so fun that I get to create my life, really moment by moment, day by day. It's me that gets to do it. It's like, yes, oh my God. It doesn't take somebody else showing up to give it to me. It's like, I'm here. I get to give it to me. I get to give me the possibilities that I would like to have. And that, to me, is just the magic of being alive, the magic of having a body, the magic of living on this planet at this time, and the magic of getting to meet people like all of you who are seeking something different and who are willing to go on the adventure of finding out what that is, for you personally. It's like that to me is the most fun that can be had, on the planet. And what brings me happiness is exploring that. So,
well, thank you so much. Thank you, Heather, for coming to Happiness Telesummit. Thank you for your time today. You're so generous with your time, and I encourage everyone to work with Heather. You can find her at the Access Consciousness website, as you saw right there. You can also find her right here at Happiness Telesummit, and she's also the author, and one book that's coming out right now and another book that's coming out soon. So just keep an eye out for Heather Smith. Thank you.
Thank you.